Okay, guys, so I just found this sick little pamphlet from an art show I went to recently. It's the Ryoji ikeda show called Dataverse. Give me a second. So, intro to Dataverse. We got a sick cover. Look at the design. It's just so balanced. Ryoji ikeda is a mixed media artist, and I'll tell you why I'm not going to call him a motion media designer in a minute. Just look at the pamphlet, look at the page layouts. There's so much intentionality. Just this little break in the page is so on brand, so on theme. Every single little detail, you can tell that this artist cares intimately. This was the layout for the gallery, and everything was just designed to be, although it's like a grid shape, although it's like a more conventional shape, the whole thing was like a circular experience. So you started at 5, and then you kind of went around through all of these exhibits, and these exhibits created like a reoccurring motif and theme of like communication, connection in the digital stratosphere. This is my favorite part of this whole pamphlet that Ryoji made. So these words right here speak so much volume to me. I'm going to read them out. It says, I tend to take more of a microscopic viewpoint towards art instead of taking art as a sum of segmented categories such as painting, sculpture, music, dance, etc. If I take art as art, it simply expands and becomes so broad and diverse to me. Thus, I don't stay in the music scene or visual scene, as it restricts creative possibility and restricts artistic freedom. I prefer to traverse both fields and beyond, which I have been doing for many years. So next, it just kind of describes all of the exhibits and the sponsors and whatnot. But this right here spoke volume. So, as a mixed medium artist and a motion media designer, I think that a lot of my perspective in art has been being somebody that can be considered a jack of multiple traits and feeling like a master of none. I went to school, I learned the fundamentals of animation, but I wasn't like taken aback enough by animation in its sense to really want to pursue. I didn't have Disney dreams, I guess. Like, I didn't want to, like, that wasn't for me. I did sequential art, and I was in love with manga and stuff, but I'd rather draw the characters, come up with the themes and stuff than the whole, like, there are rules in sequential art, there are rules in animation, and these rules are guidelines to preserve the law of visual immersion. These forms of storytelling tend to exist in a way that's comprehensive because it has worked in the past. Whereas when you traverse new fields, or not even new fields, I guess that's what I was trying to point out. It's not new to want to do it collaboratively, like not just to restrict, like in movies, we see combinations of visual artistry, sonic artistry, as in music and composition and soundtracks, and then the performance is performative artistry. And in cinema and animation, we tend to see a combination of all of those things, but the animator's job is to draw. You're not the one that's going to compose the music, you're not the one that's making all of those choices. And that's where motion media kind of took my heart, and I switched majors like last minute in school, which caused me a lot of financial strain, but it was like the best thing to do. Motion media was a combination of photography, animation, cinematography, digital design, graphic design, everything. It was basically like being the avatar. And I guess that's like what Ryoji Kaida's like description of art to him felt like to me, or at least that's how I interpreted it. It was this perception of segregation in all of these fields of art that benefits the consumer but tends to restrict the creative, because when you become somebody who is legible, you have to sacrifice certain aspects of your creative perspective, I guess, because the reality is people only understand a fraction of the thoughts that you're trying to present. And with creative platforms or creative techniques, and you know, just trying to actualize your creative thoughts, people will receive it in the best way that they can. And their perspective is rooted in nuance that consists of both nature and nurture. You know, the symbolism that you're trying to convey, the imagery that you're trying to convey, it all becomes subjective once you've put it on the canvas. So it's your job to use all the means within your disposal to make sure that you get people to the closest version of the core of your idea that you can, I guess. And that's what Ryoji's statement kind of meant to me. It was that I am an artist, you know. I'm not just the guy that draws. I'm not just the guy that's gonna write the script. I'm not just the guy that does these little paintings and, you know, the abstract stuff. I'm not just that. Like I'm an artist. I'm multifaceted in a sense, but the arts are my lane. That's my domain. It's not just, I guess it's just, it was like a liberation in that statement. So yeah, you know, if you're an artist and you feel like the thing that you do is the only thing that you should do, and you know that you can do other things and you have interest in other things, do it. Do it as long as you can until you find the space where those skill sets form into something different. Let all of these skills accumulate as little circles of experiences in your life, and find yourself in a place where all of these experiences overlap. Because when you take a step back and you look at all of these little circles of experience that you're forming, they blossom into a flower of life. And that's, I guess, me summing up the art show that I went to, the pamphlet that Ryoji Ikeda, you know, created for his art show, and how it related to me as an artist that went there and experienced it in its full magnitude, I guess. And yeah, if you want more art talk, if you want to see more of the updates on the projects that I'm doing, just got some new flowers over here, so I'm pretty proud about that. You know, follow for more stuff. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I'll post some art later on today. I'm working on some shit. Yeah, peace. Yeah, fingernails covered in paint. Lifestyle. Peace.